A difference of 1 millimeter can be the reason your entire woodworking project fails. Not the design, not your tools, just a number that's slightly off. Most people assume that if a project goes wrong, it's because they made a mistake during the build. Maybe the cut wasn't straight enough. Maybe the joint wasn't tight enough. But what if the problem started long before you even touched the wood? What if the issue was already built into the plan itself? Escalation of frustration. You find a plan that looks solid. Clean diagrams, clear layout. It even includes measurements and a materials list. So you trust it. You buy the lumber, set aside your weekend, and start cutting. At first, everything seems fine. The first few pieces come together without much resistance. Then something subtle happens. 2 parts don't align perfectly. You check your cut. It looks right. You measure again. Still right. So you keep going, assuming it's just a small inconsistency that will fix itself later. But it doesn't. By the time you reach assembly, the gaps are obvious. Joints don't close. Panels don't sit flush. Angles feel slightly off. And now you're stuck in a loop. You go back, remeasure, recut, adjust, trying to correct something that keeps showing up in different places. At some point, the question hits you. Am I doing something wrong? Because everything feels slightly off but never clearly broken. And that's what makes it frustrating. You're not dealing with a visible mistake. You're dealing with accumulated error. Hidden structural layer. Most people think woodworking errors come from poor execution. A bad cut, a shaky hand, the wrong tool. And sometimes that's true. But there's a deeper layer most people don't see. Every woodworking project is a chain of dependencies. Each measurement builds on the previous one. Each cut assumes the last one was correct. So when a plan includes a dimension that's off even slightly, it doesn't stay isolated. It spreads. A 1/16-inch difference on paper doesn't sound like much. But in practice, it changes how pieces relate to each other. It affects spacing, alignment, structural balance. And because the plan doesn't explain how those measurements interact, you're left guessing how to compensate. It's like following directions where one step is slightly wrong, but every step after depends on it. At first, you don't notice. Then suddenly nothing fits. Key turning point. The real issue isn't your skill. It's the precision and completeness of the plan you're following. Expanded perspective. Once you see this, a lot of things start to make sense. Why projects feel harder than they should. Why small builds take longer than expected. Why you can follow instructions exactly and still end up with something that doesn't match the picture because you weren't working with a reliable system. You were working with approximations. And woodworking doesn't tolerate approximation very well. It rewards clarity. It rewards sequence. It rewards plans that have already been tested in the real world, not just drawn on paper. When those elements are missing, even simple projects become unpredictable. Not because they're complex, but because they're unstable from the start. Grounded practical framing. This doesn't mean you need better tools or more experience. It means you need a different kind of input. Plans that account for real-world variables. Plans where measurements have been verified through actual builds. Plans that don't just show what the final piece looks like, but how each step connects to the next. Because when the structure is sound, your job becomes simpler. You stop second-guessing. You stop correcting mid-build. And you start moving through the process with a level of confidence that wasn't there before. Not because the work got easier, but because the uncertainty was removed. Conclusion. Most failed woodworking projects don't collapse because of major mistakes. They fall apart because of small inaccuracies that were never obvious in the beginning. And once those inaccuracies are built into the process, fixing them becomes harder than starting over. So if your projects haven't been turning out the way you expect, it might be worth looking at what you're building. Riemann chess, how you're building it. Short call to action, max 10 seconds. If you want a structured breakdown of how complete woodworking plans actually work, check the resource in the description and subscribe for more practical insights like this.